Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So just tell us your name, where you're from, and just a brief summary of what you're about currently.
Cool. Sure. So my name's Kevin Bennett. I'm a mental and emotional strategist, which just simply means anything to do with the mind and emotions. That's what I specialize in. Since 2010, I believe. Yep, it's 2010 now. I've stepped out and I started to work with companies, governments, organizations, brands, countless amounts of people. And one of the main reasons why I stepped into the world of helping, building, empowering people was coming from Brixton. When you come from a place like Brixton, you have to figure it out. You have to figure it out or you don't survive. Especially, Brixton's changed now. But going back into the 90s, it was a war zone to some extent. We had many people that went through so much trauma. Even with myself as well, I was stabbed on 4 different occasions and resuscitated one of those times. And I had a brother that was shot and murdered, and I've had many other friends that died and all the rest of it. But what was interesting about that is when you grow up in like an estate, right? And it really just kind of dawned on me over the years that when you grow up into an estate, you live on top of trauma, you live below trauma, you live beside trauma. There's always trauma surrounding you, because that's what estates do. It's a whole kind of melting pot of different communities and different people from different parts of the world and different reasons why they're there in the first place. Because there's something magical about being on an estate. Because normally estates are looked at in a negative way when people tend to talk about estates. But what is magical when you live on an estate? You get a very fast-track education when it comes to different cultures, how people eat, how people think, how people socialize, their diverse view of the world. And so there's a good side to it. And as I said, there's another side to it where when people are going through traumas, you step out into that trauma. You hear the traumas leaking through the doors, you hear the trauma while you're sleeping. You hear all these different things. You see traumas as well. And so in one hand, you get a fast-track education when it comes to what the world looks like in one small environment. And on the other side of it, you have to figure things out, especially when you're not in a position to leave the environment because maybe you're too young or your finances ain't together or your geographical situation doesn't allow you to move from those types of facilities in a sense.
So Kevin, take me back, like when you say, give me a kind of age that all these things were swarming through your head. What type of age range are we talking about here that you're absorbing all this information from your environment?
You believe it or not, you learn this from you're like 5-6 years old. And the reason why you learn it, like for example, one of my earliest memories, right? When it comes to understanding that there's a brutal world out there, is my house being raided and I'm like 4 or 5 years old. And the police is running in and out and all the rest of it. So your purity can be cut short very quickly because of environment. So you learn very quickly that you have to have a certain type of hypervigilance. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I would say when it really kicks in is when you are, in my case I'm talking, and people that grew up around me, I would say 10 years old. You learn a lot at 10 years old. I am the youngest of 6 children, 6 siblings. And my brothers were very, very influential. One in particular, he was connected to politicians, MPs, very powerful roadmen globally, So I'm talking about from Jamaica to Africa to America. There was a powerful network of them. People who know my story would know the depth of it, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day, And so when you're around, but it wasn't thuggery, it was very, very, very intelligent people we're talking about here, right? My brother was probably the smartest person I've ever met.
So we're talking about those that can put two and two together. It's criminal underworld we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
So your brother was so smart, right? But this is what we talk about, the environment, the environment that you're in. If he was in a different environment, how do you picture his life turning out?
That's a very powerful, no one's ever asked me that question before. And that's a very powerful question. If he was in another environment, I believe he would have been a lawyer, or he would have been a very powerful politician. Definitely, no doubt. And I'll tell you the reason why I say that, right? He was a ferocious reader. Yeah? He read. He always just would say, read. Yeah? He probably read about a book a week. Yeah? One after another reading, and I'm talking about thick books. He was well educated. He knew how to conduct himself. He used to always wear suits. And he knew the art of negotiation, and he could move around different worlds. He used to sit me down when I was 7 years old, and he would teach me about the G7 and the G8. And he used to say to me, it's so important that you understand the G7 and G8, because how do you navigate around the world if you don't understand how countries work? If you don't understand how people in countries work? If you don't understand how different cultures work? And so, if you understood his mind, you would really, I used to sit down in awe, and he would send me 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning to the shop, and he'd say, go buy a newspaper. These are the parts you read, the Financial Times, you read this, you read that. You know, we used to sit me down and say, at the time we watched the Parliament channel, and they'll say, listen to how politicians talk. Listen to the difference, and you have to understand the difference between the three worlds of language, you would say, for example. Now, you know, naturally say, what three? I can't speak 3 languages. And he'll say, no, we all speak 3 languages. And I'll say, okay, what is it? And he says, well, slang, that's one language, right? Then you've got the Queen's English, that's another language. Then you've got legalese, that's another language. And you have to know at each time what language you're talking and who you're talking those languages to. Because if you ever confuse the two, that's where you get yourself in trouble. So I'm learning this at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? He taught me how to play chess. You know, and he said, if you do not know how to play chess, you lose in life. Yeah. And so this is the kind of mind we're talking about here, right? And he owned many different businesses. So he understood business and all the rest of it. But sometimes in life, what happens is your love for your environment and your love for an environment that doesn't serve you well can be your demise. And we've seen it before, right? We've seen it in many different forms in the past. We've seen it with Malcolm X, we've seen it with Marcus Garvey, we've seen it with Martin Luther King, we've seen it with Mahatma Gandhi, we've seen it with William Wallace, we've seen it with all these different people that they were very intelligent, they were ahead of their time. However, their love for their environment ended up being their demise. And so that's what happened in my brother's case. His love for his environment ended up catching up with him from that perspective, and that became the end of that chapter.
That's very interesting that your brother said that, because he talks about understanding how the world works. I had this conversation with my son, who was telling me, Dad, you got to understand how money works. A lot of people are saying, oh, they're not, financially in a good place. This is my son,
How old is your son?
He's 24. He's 24. So he's telling me, Dad, you got to really understand how money works. If you understand how money works, you never struggle. You never ever chase money. It will come to you. So in terms of that, it's very relatable. And I feel it's something that a lot of youngsters can benefit from, like stories like this. But just I didn't mean to cut you. I know you had something else to say.
It's so relevant. And I like that.
So that's why I wanted to kind of share that as well in that moment. But I'll let you continue.
So what's the evolution of that? Do you understand what I'm saying? The evolution, so I learned, as I said, I learned so much from being in those environments. You know, I had to grow up in it. I was stabbed on 4 different occasions. You know, so I've witnessed and experienced and been a part of the world of change, the world of trauma, the world of the ups, the downs, the not sures. How do you navigate, you know? And obviously my world and my backstory is a very in-depth backstory that we definitely couldn't cover all today. But I've been there nevertheless. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I had to find a way how to move from a place of anger, frustration, and to at some point a type of depression, to a place of excellence, to a place of success, to a place of prosperity. And so my number one takeaway was, and one of the greatest things my brother gave to me was the science and understanding to have mentors. And so for many years, I had 25 mentors globally. And he always said to me, make sure you have a mentor in all the depths of life. Have a spiritual mentor, have a financial mentor, have a business mentor, have a roadman mentor, have a mentor who understands investments, have a mentor. So I had such a plethora of mentors, and I would only go to them for that subject, for that topic. I didn't want to have a cross blend of conversations with different mentors because I needed excellence within that particular field. Yeah. And so it grew my knowledge. But then there's one side of the knowledge where all your mentor is there to do is you punch in the postcode. Yeah. This is where I want to go. This is my postcode. And your mentor, just like a sat nav, would say, these are the roads to the postcode. Avoid that road because that road has a roadblock. Avoid that road because that's where the violence is. Avoid that road. So that's your job of your mentor, is to guide you to your postcode. But you have to have a clear understanding where you want to go. Yeah? And that's why I never used to mix mentors. Yeah. And so the second part of it is to travel. If someone said to me, here is £100,000 and you have to spend it immediately on your child, what do you spend it on? And I'm not talking about investing in like stocks, shares, bonds and all the rest of it, right? I'm talking about what do you spend it on? I will spend it on traveling. Because when you build a world view, you change your narrative. Now, I used to believe there was 5 stages of success. Yeah. I've actually adjusted it in recent times to 6 stages of success. Just like there's 6 stages of failure, right? So what are they? Stage number 1 is environment, energy, right? Now, when I was young, I went to Jamaica for 6 months because my parents are from Jamaica. Yeah. And my cousins are swimmers. I mean, they're swimmers. Jamaicans who can swim and fish, they are swimmers at the highest level. They don't need scuba diving equipment. They can do it, yeah? And I was a half-decent swimmer. I was pretty good. Clearly didn't match them when I discovered how good they were swimmers. And what happened was we went in by Clarendon, we jumped into the sea together, and we went down, we came back up, and we went down and we came back up. But I didn't turn around and I didn't look at the shore, which I should have done. So after about 2 miles, I turned around and the shore was like a dot. And as soon as I saw that shore being the dot, the beachfront being a dot away, I panicked and I started to drown. And in that moment of drowning, all I could think about was survival. I didn't think about how beautiful Jamaica was anymore. I didn't think about how beautiful the sun was. I was in survival mode. And it's the same thing with an environment. When you're in survival mode, there's no space to think about opulence and wealth and success. And that's the problem what happens with most of us. When we're in survival mode, there's no space to think about how luxury and amazing our possibilities can be. Right? Just like when I was drowning in that moment. Yeah. So in order for us to get to stage 2, which is having a belief system that is possible, we have to deal with stage 1, which is environment. Are we drowning in that environment, or are we thriving in that environment? Right? So stage 1 is to make sure that our mood, our energy and our emotions is at a certain space, what I call a proton state. Yeah? A proton state is positive, electrons negative, neutrons is somewhere in between, and that's all the constituents. What is more, there's photons and there's quarks and all the rest of it within the constituents of an atom. Yeah? But when we're talking about a proton state, you're in a positive energy state, right? In order for us to be in a positive energy state, our environment has to stimulate us. It has to be in a good state. Yeah? The people around us has to be in a good state. So stage 1 is important.
Let me ask you something about environment stimulating people, right? It could stimulate in a negative way also, and people might not even realize it. Because the reason I say that, I see some youngsters are stimulated by their environment because they, like you said, they might not have been well traveled, they might not have seen any better, or you know, or seen any positive role models. So how do you decipher what stimulation to run towards in terms of, okay, I recognize I'm in a negative environment? But some people don't even recognize it.
No, they do. They do.
Yeah?
They do. Because here's the thing. You just put your hand on your heart, right? And you'll feel, I feel angry. I feel depressed. I feel lonely. I feel happy. I feel joy. I feel exuberance. I feel depressed. I feel hopelessness. You know how you feel, but here's what you are saying, which I agree with. Sometimes we get so conditioned to our feelings that we think that this is normal.
Yeah.
Right? So we do identify how we feel. We feel it within our viscera. Yeah? We feel it when we get up in the morning. We feel it when we look around and our parents are crying. We feel it when we have to be in a fight every day. We feel it when we're in a state of hypervigilance. We feel it when we know we have to fight every day. We have to fight physically. We have to walk with a knife. We have to walk with a gun. We have to walk with... We know that we're in a certain state. But what you are saying, which I agree with, is that sometimes we can become so conditioned to it, we now think that this is normal. Do you know what I'm saying? But we do know when we're in survival mode. We do feel it, right? So what needs to happen is, I'll go through the 5 stages, the 6 stages, then we can definitely get to that, right? And I think the 6 stages will explain it, yeah, as well. So you have stage 2, which is your belief system. I used to believe before that stage 1 was your belief system. But your belief system is based upon the lens of your glasses, right? So if I put on dark glasses right now, in this environment, the world looks darker. Yeah? If I was to put on glasses with a brown tint, the world is browner, right? If I put on glasses that are, you know, bifocals, the world either becomes further or shorter. So based upon our belief system, we look at the world in accordance to that. Yeah? So the reason why stage 1 is your energy state, we have to change your energy state, because when we go to stage 2, your belief system, it needs to be within a proton state, like I believe is possible. So this is the reason why some people go on holiday or they go to another country, they're like, oh my gosh, this is paradise. Okay, now let's work on your belief system there. While you're in paradise mode, now let's talk about the possibilities of life. Instead of saying, no, you can make it. Make it. I'm drowning right now. Please don't patronize me. No, it's possible that you can be successful. Successful. Can't you see the lights are off? I can't think about success right now. I need to think about turning my lights on. And so this is why sometimes it's patronizing to people when someone can say to them about all the possibilities of life, and all they're thinking right now is, if I step outside this door, I know the boys round there want to kill me, or if I step outside this door, The bailiffs may not let me back in my house. I can't leave my house right now because they want to board my house up. So these are the places where some people are psychologically, emotionally. So then what we have to do is change their energy state. That's why we say go to the gym. How does the gym make you feel? It makes you feel alive in that moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, go for a jog, go for a brisk walk. Change your energy state before we work on your belief system. Because when your energy state is risen, then we can say, how do you feel? I feel good.
So it's a case of changing habits.
It's changing, well, habits is your, yes, it is changing your habits.
Yeah,
but
to make you feel, to get the right energy.
It's to get your right energy first. It's so important. It's so important. Before that, it can come across as patronizing. Saying to someone, listen, you can be the greatest in the world, while in that moment, their legs don't work, you know, physically or metaphorically or you know, figuratively, yeah? Your arms don't work. Your eyes don't work. Your possibilities are not possible. So we need to focus on energy state first. And this is the reason why I believe myself, I was around probably about 100, 200 of us coming from the state, and then there was a wider network as well. And, you know, God bless them all. I think me and maybe one other were the only ones that we never went to prison or anything like that. Part of it, I believe, was God's blessing, and the other part of it was a worldview. I wasn't interested in the small things because I had a worldview. I was educated to look at things from a bigger perspective. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? And I believe between God came first in that moment, and listening to God. Having a spiritual mentor at that time taught me so much. How to listen. And then the other side of it is the education, is to be in a place where you turn around and you say, do you know what? Do you know how beautiful the world is? There's 8 billion people on the planet, for example. There's 1.4 billion people in China, 1.4 billion people across Africa, 52 different countries. There's 1.4 billion people across India. There's 2.8 million people in Jamaica. There's 74 million people in England. There's 375 million people in America. To have an understanding of all the different types of people and how many people there are in the world to serve, you start to realize, I don't care about 50 people talking about me. I don't care about 120 people saying, Kevin, you're this. When there's 8 billion people out there, it changes your narrative. It changes your perspective. You stop caring about the small things when there's a bigger world out there to serve. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Right? This is why worldview is very important. Because you stop looking at menial things. So, stage 3. So stage 1 is your energy state. Stage 2 is your belief system. Stage 3 is your self-talk. All self-talk derives from a belief system. For example, if you don't believe you're good enough, what's your self-talk? It's not possible. I'm not good enough. Stage 4 is your actions or lack of actions based upon your self-talk, which is based upon your belief system, which is based upon your energy state. Then stage 5 is your results. Yeah? We all get results. Even if you don't open a red letter, the bailiffs are coming. That's a result. So at all times, you're going to get a result. Yeah? May not be the result you want, but result nevertheless. Then the final stage is, I have experience. I'm the wise man in the hill. I have knowledge. Why? Because I've gone through all the stages. Do you know what I'm saying?
Done the cycle, yeah.
Done the cycle.
It's a domino effect.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So it's about having control of those stages instead of making those stages have control of you.
Yeah. I want to ask, like developing the mindset.
Yeah.
To be able to, for those who don't even know where to start. I know you've got the blueprint there. But those that struggle with mental health in a serious way, how do you advise them? Because not everyone's got strengths in different areas.
Sure.
And not everyone has that mental fortitude to kind of, okay, I'm going to have the discipline to go through this and do this. What can you advise them? And is there? I know you got a book as well.
Oh, I don't have my book with me.
That's all right. We'll get to the book in a
book's
bit.
in the car. Go ahead. My book's in the car. Yeah.
We'll get to the book. What can you say to them, or is anything in the book that can help them to kind of get them out of that zone to even begin taking them steps?
Sure. So the book is all about that. Yeah, my book is called Who Helps the Helpline When the Helpline Needs Help. Yeah? Who are helping the people that are helping the people. Now, the book is solely designed on mindset. Yeah? Energy states and all the rest of it. And that's such a very, very good question. First and foremost, we have to understand how we feel. We must understand how we feel, and we must have a good understanding how we would like to feel. So stage one when it comes to that is, how do I feel? Just write it down. If you was to get a paper, right? You can make it portrait, whatever, right? And then what you do is, column one, you ask a very simple question. How have I been feeling for the last 3 to 6 months? How have I been feeling? And just write it down, one word, just one word at a time. I've been feeling angry. I've been feeling happy. I've been feeling depressed. Whatever it is, right? Just put one word next to it. That's all. Just one word in that column. Column two, why? So just write arrow across. How have I been feeling? I've been feeling angry. Then write across why you've been feeling angry. I've been feeling angry because I wasn't loved as a child. I've been feeling angry because I lost my loved one. I've been feeling angry because I don't believe it's possible I'm going to make it. Yeah? Okay, so that's column number 2. Everyone can do that, right? Column number 3 is, how would I like to feel? I would like to feel freedom. I would like to feel loved. I would like to feel significant. Yeah? Okay, same thing again. In the next column, which is column number 4, is, why do you want to feel like that? I want to feel significant because maybe it's going to make me feel loved. I want to feel loved because it's going to make me feel valued. Right? So you write all these down. And then the final column, now I must. That's what you just write. Now I must. Now I must. And then you would put them all together. This is what you must do in order to have those feelings. And then you start to get a blueprint of what's going on within inside of you. Because your feelings, so you have emotions and you have feelings, right? Your feelings come from your thoughts. Yeah? Your emotions, you're born with your emotions. And your emotions are sensory. I pinch myself, I feel pain. Yeah, I got a bad feeling. Yeah, it's in my viscera. These are emotions we're talking about now.
So it starts with being honest with yourself and
you have
self-reflection.
You have to. You have to. To truly be powerful is to know thyself. You must know yourself. It sounds so unfortunate how many people, I would say about 95% of people in prison right now because they don't know themselves. They got drawn out. Someone controlled their emotions for them in that moment. When you look at people like Putin, right? When you look at some of these powerful leaders, and that's why I said I have to go back to the G7, G8, because you have to learn how world leaders think. Yeah? So when you sit down and you study world leaders, you will understand that these people, they're so strategic. And they have a cabinet around them who are very strategic. Now, yes, we do have some leaders who are not so smart, and that conversation can go left and right. We won't go there, right? But what I am saying is, you have very powerful leaders who are strategically and emotionally on point, right? And we need to study those people. Unfortunately, we do come from batches of cultures where we study the wrong type of people. We study musicians and see musicians as leaders. We study artists and we look at artists as martyrs. We are studying the wrong people. We need to study the most powerful people on the planet, not because we worship them, because they are trained. They are trained to think and act a certain way. Let me give an example, right? I'll give an example. And I'm not saying I like these people. I'm saying study these people. When the Iraq War was going on, when it first went on, right? They went to Bush at the time, and they whispered in Bush's ear, and they said, Bush, this is what's happened with 9/11, right? At the time, we now deem it and call it 9/11, yeah? One of the first things that Bush done, he got back to what he was doing, all the rest of it, and then Bush started to, people don't know that he was playing golf, and he was traveling, and he was doing all these things. People was like, this ain't the right time for that. Same thing with Boris Johnson. When certain tragic things was happening in the world, they started to go on holiday and they started to travel and they started to do different things. Same thing with Gordon Brown. Same thing with Tony Blair. Same thing with David Cameron. Same thing with, you see this with certain type of leaders, and the world is going crazy saying, it's not the time to enjoy yourself today, because today we are mourning. But if you study the most powerful people on the planet, they change their energy state before they make decisions.
Not emotionally.
They're not emotional. We all have emotions, but they're not emotional.
Yeah.
They turn around and they say, only weak leaders are emotional. The best leaders, historically, they are responsive. We're in Brexit right now because the majority of people who voted for Brexit were reactive. And now they say, we lost all the benefits of what Europe was about. But we was listening to Nigel Farage, and he promised us, no, you wasn't educated. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Back to the point of reading. Back to the point of not being emotional. Back to the point of not being reactive. We must be educated. We must be responsive. And we must have emotions so we can have empathy, but we cannot be emotional when we make bad emotional decisions.
You're right, because even if I'm going to segue into, it's relatable, even the Eubanks and Ben fight, for example, which happened recently, that was a war of, who can keep their composure as well, even before the bell rang. So if I line that from a boxer's perspective, the best fighter usually keeps their emotions intact.
Exactly.
Because the whole idea is to throw you off your game.
Exactly.
So you stop thinking.
Within belief systems, right, you have micro belief systems. Yeah? So what's your belief about money? What's your belief about culture? What's your belief about health? There's literally hundreds of belief systems within one main belief system. Yeah? And each belief system have identities. So you identify yourself within each belief system. Yeah? And so you would have an identity within one belief system, which would be money is all the root to evil. And then you don't want to identify yourself as someone to ever be rich, even though you want money. And so what happens is when you get up in the morning, you won't have the same drive that someone who identifies themselves as financially wealthy even before they even have that financial wealth. So you walk a certain way, you talk a certain way, and the way you talk about money and connect with money and attract money is different to the other person who has a micro belief system and an identity within that micro belief system about finances and wealth, right? So even in the world of boxing, in the world of life overall, in the world of culture, the reason why some people peak more than others is their micro belief systems and their identities within those micro belief systems, right? So if you're talking about boxing, how does someone identify themselves? If you're talking about finances, how does someone identify themselves? Yeah? Just really think about it. If you think that money's evil, and you are a person that is in the, you know, you see yourself as someone that is godly and all the rest of it, right? Then you now have a discrepancy. There's something that's not congruent. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because in one hand, you know you need finances in order to live, but on the other hand, you resent it because you believe there's something evil about it. So then how do you step out with vigor? How do you go into the world with passion to achieve wealth? When in the back of your mind, you don't have a relationship with wealth. It's a bit like you lying down with your partner and you say to your partner, yeah, I love you. Your partner looks at you and like, no, not like that you do. Do you understand what I'm saying? In comparison to, I love you so much. You are my world. I love you. I want us to be together forever. I worship you as a queen or a king or whatever, right? And so the world reacts in accordance to your relationship with that belief system and identity within that belief system.
Mm. Oh, that's brilliant. One thing I was going to ask you, going back to your book, in terms of where do you get your research from? And what's it backed by?
Yeah, very good question.
Your
I wish I had the book with me. Oh my gosh, this is one of those moments today.
It's just to give people insight of what quality they're getting from the book to drive them towards it.
So first and foremost, right, I believe that, well, there's many ways you can write a book, yeah? My book is heavily researched. I traveled 25 countries studying human behavior. I sat down with thousands of people that had different professions, doctors, nurses, anaesthetists, surgeons, police officers, lawyers, bankers, scientists. I'm talking about, it was, at the time, it was 12 years of consistent research talking to thousands of people. So that's my own personal investigation into my work, right? And based upon that investigation, I don't want to say it prematurely, but I've got 2 universities at this precise time that are looking at giving me an honorary doctorate. If it comes, I don't know, but it's actually being put forward because of my research. It was so diligent. That's the first side of it. The second side of it is backed up by the CDC when it comes to mental health, the NHS, the I always get it wrong, NIMA or something like that, yeah? And some other bodies as well, who they have their statistical data. So it's backed up by them also as well. And then to further that, when I put the book forward, I then put the book back into those environments where those statistical datas are being collated, and they've used my book as case studies within it. So now I've lectured at UCL and I've lectured at all these other universities because the data of the book is so accurate and precisely put together. And at the back of the book as well, it has got all my findings as well, where you can find everything that I've put forward. So the book is researched and put together in accordance to the factual data of 12 years of consistent interviews, and also backing up the research with those interviews as well.
Okay. So, in a very short summary, what can people get from the book? You know, what can they expect?
So the book looks at helping people going through stress, depression, and suicidal ideation. How to bring people from a place of an electron state, all the negative emotions, and moving them to a place of a happy proton state. It's got worksheets in there. It's got everything that you need in there, where it's not just a read, but you use it as your guide, your daily, monthly, weekly guide to get to a place of excellence and happiness.
So where can they find the book?
So you can find the book. If you want a signed copy of the book, you can get a signed copy of my website, because obviously I've got access to it where I can sign it, which is whohelpsthehelpline.com. Yeah, so that's whohelpsthehelpline.com, right? Or you can buy it on Amazon for those people who just want an easy life in that sense, right? They've got accounts up already. And on Amazon, the book is called, same thing, Who Helps the Helpline When the Helpline Needs Help. Yeah? So who helps the helpline when the helpline needs help?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. And also, there's an app which you have launched, I
very
believe, right?
soon. Yeah.
This is something, it's like a one-stop shop where people can go and immediately get some sort of response. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. So once again, the app was based upon me studying the most successful people on the planet, both past and present. Yeah. And what I started to discover is they had a minimum of 18 parts of their life they had in place at any one time. Yeah. In accordance to the everyday person who has only about 7 to 8 parts of their life in place at any one time. So basically what this app will do is it will wake up in the morning, and all through your day, your week, your month, your year, it will move you to a place of excellence. It will tell you what to do. It will prompt you to do it. So just think about having a life coach and all the other areas of what the most powerful people on the planet have in place. This app will provide it, and it's free as well.
Brilliant. It's, one last question.
Yes.
Reflecting on your life now, it's obvious your brother's a very key person in your life. If you could go back in time and give your brother advice similar to what he gave you, what would you tell him? What would that conversation be like?
Wow, your questions is phenomenal. If I had 5 minutes before he died, I would say to him, if you're a purple cow, you don't hang out with the black and white cows. You're a purple cow. Prince was a purple cow. Michael Jackson was a purple cow. Mahatma Gandhi was a purple cow. Martin Luther King was a purple cow. And if you looked at the destruction of all purple cows, there was around black and white cows.
Thank you very much. That was very powerful. Yeah, that's it for now.
Yeah.
There'll be a part 2 because I can talk to you for ages. So, yeah, very informative.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And we just touched the surface as well.
Literally.